All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Million Dollar Dads podcast. I'm here with a special guest today, my good friend for a long time, actually.
Yeah.
One of my buddies, Corey Paszkiewicz. Corey is currently in Florida, also resides in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Corey and I met probably a little more than a decade ago. Kind of a little bit of a background on Corey, a former natural bodybuilder, electrician who turned residential real estate entrepreneur, who turned serial entrepreneur, who just also started a new venture, launching a physical product that I'm holding in my hands in arguably one of the most competitive areas, one of the most competitive industries, which is nutritional supplements, nootropics. And Corey just launched this product, and I'm super excited because it's really going to give us an opportunity to be tactical, peel behind the curtain a little bit to see what it actually takes to go from literally zero to launching a product, getting it on Amazon and getting sales. Corey's not coming onto this podcast to tell you that he's some e-commerce expert at all. But what's interesting is he just did this and he's willing to share his journey on how everything went step by step, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So Corey, man, thanks for being here. That was a long-winded intro, but
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
We were traded spaces. I wish I was in Florida and you were here in Wisconsin right now.
I heard I'm coming back to a heat wave though. So
yeah, I think it's going to be like low 60s. So it'll be really good. It'll be good. So
nice.
Corey, take me back a little bit to, I don't want to dive too much into the real estate or the electrician stuff. Like we have another podcast for that to get into the tactics there. But in general, right, you're sitting as a serial entrepreneur. You have a very healthy real estate portfolio, a background in fitness and nutrition. That's where you and I met at a different nutritional company. We've been friends ever since. There was no nutrition company in your life for a few years. And then all of a sudden you get this idea, hey, I think I want to make my own product. This is something you've been talking about actually for a long time. And now you finally are like, I think I can actually do this. Take us back to that moment, kind of the genesis of the idea of Switch and what your thoughts were. And then we can kind of move it forward on how it actually progressed and what the steps actually were to get to where we are today, which I'm literally drinking this while we're on camera here. I was drinking it before we even got on camera. So I love it. I'm a fan. Our community is going to be a fan once they get their hands on it. So just walk me through that a little bit.
Cool. Well, yeah, thank you again for having me. Glad to try to share any insight I can, help anybody in the group and all that. So yeah, I guess if I take it back, like you said, we've been involved in different nutritional companies. I've always been, taking good care of my health, fitness, nutrition, supplements, and all that. I guess the biggest thing for me, like after like one of the companies we met with, the further I got into like research and development and really learning, and as entrepreneurs, it's, we're always learning, we're growing. Same thing with like our health and fitness. There's always new science, new research out there. Kind of found a lot of things that I used to do weren't necessarily as good as they could have been. And I just want to create a healthier product, not only for like me, but for other people as well. I'm a busy dad, I'm an entrepreneur. I needed that boost of energy, but more so not just necessarily the energy, the focus and clarity. When you're running multiple businesses, you have 3 little kids that are under 7 years old. It's hard to get going and keep up with everything. So I kind of selfishly made it for me. But part of it was, I thought the industry is lacking something like this. I wanted something that was clean, something that had a high quality ingredients, something that, tasted good and really just had what we needed, where we could have consistent energy, no crash, all day energy and focus. I just felt I haven't found anything. I've tried a lot of different other products out there, and that's kind of how Switch came about, really.
Yeah. So if like deconstruct that, because I think that the information that you have on this could serve people in almost any category, right? Like if you remove supplement, basically what we're talking about is this idea of somebody coming and that's where all, not all, but a lot of good ideas and good businesses come from, is helping your immediate need first. And you're like, hey, there's a niche in the market here. So it sounds like that's kind of exactly what you were experiencing.
Kind of how it is. Yeah. I basically reverse engineered it. I was looking for a product. So whether it's supplements or something else, like you said, I mean, whatever you're looking to do, find your nearest competitors. I basically made spreadsheets of everything. I had a background in like nutrition and all that, so I kind of knew a little bit more what I was looking for. But whatever your product is or your idea or whatever you want to create, get a list of your competitors. I mean, I did that. I wrote out all the ingredients. I looked at like the best ingredients that I thought worked the best across all the top products. And that's kind of how I formulated. I kind of tested. I mean, it was about a year and a half into making, from start of it to actually getting a manufacturer and making the product, going through their testing, their R&D department, all that. So,
Yeah,
that's,
I want to get into the conversation about if in a minute, I want to get into the conversation about like for you specifically the ingredients versus so trying to make a decision with ingredients versus profits, right? Because it's very
yeah,
easy to be like, hey, let's go a little bit less on the ingredients because we're going to boost our bottom line. But I just want to start at the beginning and make this very tactical for people who want to start and launch their own physical product. What you're saying is that if you reverse engineering, meaning you kind of have the idea of what you want to create in mind, although the exact product doesn't exist in the market. What you're saying is that there's similar ones, and you're kind of taking a piece from this person, taking a piece from that one, and eventually you're going to take all these pieces and combine it into your product. Is that kind of like, is that where the research started? Is just
yep,
going out and saying, hey, there's all these products, let's take the good from everything, leave the bad,
yep.
and then move forward?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've used energy drinks and stuff like that for years, just to help get me throughout the day. But I'd always seen that crash and it just wasn't enough. So I started trying a lot of different ones. And yeah, you just pick pieces from that and, looking at the ingredients and, I'm like, hey, I wanted X ingredient in here. And, I kind of just started formulating it that way. Um,
So let's I mean, everything through the lens, again, for the listener, everything through the lens is going to be talking about supplement and this Switch brand, basically nootropic. But I want to just make a reminder for everybody that you can insert any product into this conversation that we're talking about. So Corey, you did this market research. How do you find like you're not cooking this stuff up in your kitchen? So what's the next
yeah,
step? Like, how do you find, like, where do you even go? How do you research that? How would
yeah.
somebody take the next step?
So yeah, I mean, like you said, it's very competitive product. I mean, supplements are competitive, but like the energy nootropic category is it's very, very competitive. So we went into it, um, knowing that, but again, we wanted to make it more for our need. And like I knew a lot of people around me could really benefit from it and wanted that. So I guess first step, I mean, once you come up with your formula, whatever you're making, whether it's a formula or you're creating a product, I'd say it's finding the right manufacturer. So for us, we went through 3 different manufacturers, um, and I've reached out to probably 20 other ones too. And when you're a new guy in the supplement industry, it's hard to get manufacturers that pick up a new guy. I mean, some of them wanted ridiculous minimum order quantities, things like that. Some of them didn't want to work with new people. So to find a manufacturer, that's probably the toughest one to get it right.
Mhm.
Because I've tried cleaner products in the past before too, and they worked all right, but none of them tasted really well too. So for us, taste was a really big one. Like we really wanted to nail that. So we it actually ended up being our third manufacturer that we found to work with to get it right and all that.
So now during this time when you're trying to find manufacturers and somebody's on this journey, are you paying for all of this like out of pocket to do this? Because you talked about minimum order. Like, when do you actually have to put money out of pocket? Because
Yeah,
my thought is there's a lot of things here a lot of obstacles that you're gonna have to overcome, and it seems like it'd be very, very easy, especially in a competitive market, to just be like, forget it, I'm done. Like, what was
yeah,
that experience like?
definitely. Yeah, it's hard. So I lucked out. Like I didn't have to put any um like money down right away until I actually placed my order. Um, as far as the product, okay, Tuck, hang on. Um,
So
so
that's
my,
perfect. That is absolutely perfect for the million
we have a
dollar dads
contractor here,
podcast.
so he's like my wife's with, I'm talking to them now, but so
Okay,
they
perfect.
know we're on the call. Um, but yeah, as far as money out of pocket, as for the product, I didn't have to put anything down until I actually placed my initial order. They actually, some of them you might have to pay for samples, and I don't know, I may have had to pay for shipping or for the samples. I honestly don't remember. That was months ago.
A year
Um,
ago or more.
yeah, but yeah, so but I did have to pay. I mean, if you take a brand from beginning to end, I mean, we applied for 3 different trademarks. You know, you're paying for logo designs, development. We went through a lot of that type of back end stuff. So you're doing a lot of that. One of the trademarks we applied for, like I did hire an attorney for one. Two of the other ones I did myself. So I
Hmm.
mean, it's thousand some bucks just for that to have that attorney do everything, you know. So it's like it can add up pretty quick before you actually even have the product in hand. So I'd say majority of it was a lot of getting everything set up as far as like logos, website, trademarking, you know, applying for trademarking, all that. I guess yeah, all that back end stuff that you don't really think about, like we don't see here. I mean, that stuff's what adds up. And then when you're ready to launch and you're ready for your product, I mean, then you got to put your deposit down. Then you're paying for labels, you're paying for shipping and all that. So
Yeah.
it does add up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like there's two different types of people when you think about doing work. There's the I'm gonna pay the attorney guy. I'm gonna have, everything done for me, or I'm gonna do the DIY route. Is there an advantage to one or the other when you're launching a physical product like this?
Yep.
Um,
That's a
like,
good question. So I always used to be the type to do it all myself.
mhm,
Uh, you know, you always hear like if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. And you know, something I learned years ago, well, not too far ago, but and it's been a challenge for me to overcome and get over that hurdle is like you got to be good with somebody else's 80%. So letting go of the reins a little bit was kind of hard for me because that's going to allow you to scale and grow your business. Um, so I kind of take a role and like even in my like real estate business, it's I'm more of like the project manager, so to
mhm,
say now, and I'm kind of giving the reins to other people. So there are certain things that, you know, I'll do a lot of the work and I'm overseeing a lot of it, but like with the design work, I mean, I'll send them concepts of what I'm looking for, and maybe I'll make something up on Canva and send my designer, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'll send them examples of other people's. The trademarking, like I did a lot of the research on it, figure out how to do it. It's not too complicated, but it's a really long process. Like they're booked out like almost a year before you can
whoa,
actually get approved. Like it, yeah, they're just they said they had a big influx. Like actually, one of my attorneys just got back to me today, right before like the call here, and one of them was like approved and it's like through their phase. So I
wow.
mean, we applied for them last November, December ish. So
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
those are
it's
things
almost
that you don't even think about with like a
yeah,
product is trademarking, right? I'm just thinking
yep,
ingredients and the product itself. You know, it's a good thought that you said about delegating. Dan Martell says, like you mentioned, it's hard to give up control because nobody's going to do it 100% like you.
yep,
But Dan Martell says 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome. So
yep,
it's kind of the
exactly.
same. It's the same
So
concept there.
it applies to everything. I mean, with this and all that, I mean, I'm even with like PPC stuff, like I kind of was learning a lot of that, but I have like some guys helping with Amazon PPC. And so I'm kind of like, I think in the beginning, it's important to like get a general overview of it, but you don't have to be the expert in it. You know, if you kind of know what you need to do, you can start delegating um, to people that are more experts in there. And you might not make as much in the beginning, but you'll have more time freedom and you'll probably grow a lot quicker than you trying to figure it out and cutting that time curve on half. So yeah.
Yeah, some of the most successful guys in business, right, they're not necessarily the smartest guy in the room, but they've surrounded themselves with people that are just way smarter than them.
Yep.
Um, so after you get the trademarks and everything, you're probably getting into the formulation process. How do you make a determination now when you're looking at what the price point is going to be of something? How do you determine the price point of something based on the ingredients, and or when I say ingredients in this case, for any other physical product, it could be quality. We could just put that under a quality category. So
Yep.
you're going to have high quality is going to be a higher cost. You're going to have lower quality. You might have a lower cost, or you can keep the cost competitive, but your profit margin is going to be more. How do you walk
Yep.
through that and make that decision?
Yeah, I think in our product and especially in the supplement industry, it's easy to get in with low quality, low ingredients, artificial junk in there, dyes and all that. Like you can manufacture those a lot cheaper. Um, but my niche, like I want a premium product, people that are, like entrepreneurs, moms and dads, people that really depend on performing their best every day is kind of how Switch came about. So like I wanted to have something premium, high quality, because that's going to stand out. There's not a lot in that premium market, but there's a lot of
Hmm.
low end garbage. And like to compete with the low end people, I mean, a lot of those people are already established. So you got to separate yourself somehow. So that's kind of what I was looking for. I mean, I didn't really care necessarily about the profit margin right away, but I wanted something high quality, something I knew that worked, something I felt comfortable and safe putting in my body because there is a lot of
Mm.
garbage out there. So that's kind of like our whole goal of brand, like the whole core body nutrition is basically core nutrition to fuel your body to perform your best is kind of the idea behind the brand name. And then Switch is just our energy product,
I'm so
our
glad that you finally are doing this, man. It's been way too long that we've
I
talked
know
about
it's
this
I've
for
been
like 5 or 6 or 7 years, and
it's been
I'm so
yeah.
glad that it's finally out. I am a
Yep.
big proponent, and one thing that I missed before we get into the formulation and the quality conversation, you just touched on it, and I want to go back to it, is naming. I think naming, in my opinion, a name is super important. Or I think we're kind of coming out of it, possibly out of a decade of like cute names, like these names that uh, are very, they sound really sexy and they're cool, but when you say the name, you have no idea what the company does. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like these one word, very millennial type names, and you're like, well, what does that even mean? Like, what does that do?
Yeah.
Core body nutrition. Like that seems to me, okay. I I don't know anything about you or your company, but I think that okay, this is the core nutrition that I need for my body. I can make that. We're looking at opening a garage company, organize my garage. I always joke that
Yeah.
the storage industry has it figured out because their buildings just say storage across the
Yeah.
top. There's nothing fancy about it.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like that's key right there. I mean, like I had a hard time coming up with names in the beginning too, because like, you do hear all those names, and it's like, what exactly is that? And like, I wanted people to recognize or like get an idea of like what we have to offer.
Give me the
Um,
insights, not the core body, but then the name switch. What's the genesis of the name, and how did you come up with it, and what was the thought process there? Like, how
yeah,
are
that
you
I
thinking
mean,
about reverse engineering this?
yeah, I mean, that was probably the harder one to come up with because there's so many like pre-workouts and energy drinks and all that. I'm like, um, I threw some stuff in like namelets and it shot out like words. I mean, we, I'm like my wife and I, we like just shout out different names. We asked people. I mean, that's a hard one to really come up with,
Hmm.
and I mean, that's really just kind of how it came about. And there's a couple of them, and Switch was like one of them that it sounds good. I mean, I feel like it sounds kind of catchy, but that's why I kind of put the brain boosting energy underneath like the logo, so like people kind of get a little bit of it. Because if you say Switch, it's like, what exactly is that?
Right.
I kind of wanted to describe it a little bit where it's not just regular energy, but it's more for the brain and cognitive function as well.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's kind of really how that came about. I mean, there's so many names that are taken out
Yeah.
there. So
Especially in this
that,
space.
yeah. So I mean, like I feel like everything's almost taken. So this is one that happened to not be taken. Um,
Yeah.
and part of that is you're looking at trademarks too and seeing there's like none in the trademarking when you look on their site. So
Right. So if we're kind of walking through the steps of this conversation, it's like you generate the idea. A lot of times that idea is what is something in your day to day that is a frustration or a pain point, right? So there's
yep,
possibly something that you're Googling is possibly a business idea. Now you're going into um, trademarking and then identifying manufacturers, right? Naming it, which is a super important part of the process to come up with the right name. And that kind of goes into the trademark kind of process. Because why you do that on the front end is so you don't get to be a $10 million brand and somebody comes knocking on your door and says, oh, by
Right.
the way, you owe us half of everything because you took our name.
Yeah.
Um, then we get into the manufacturing process, and that's where you were going with quality versus like thinking through quality over profit. What's your mindset when you're going into that? Because when you're starting something, man, it's really easy to think about the
Yeah.
bottom line of the numbers versus
Yeah.
what you're putting into it. You had mentioned it's because you're using it. How do you find that balance though?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a point where you got to look at a little bit of both. I mean, you need to make sure it's profitable. So, I mean, we knew we could be profitable with that, but I also wanted something high quality. And I mean, you've known me a long time. Like anything I do, I'm like, I'm committed to it. I'm gonna try to do the best and be the best that I can at it. Is just kind of my drive I've had. So like, I wanted something high quality. I wanted good quality ingredients. I wanted trademarked ingredients. You can get similar ingredients that aren't trademarked, that aren't high quality. Um, it's just another way to separate you to stand out from the competition.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be have transparent labels. So you'll see a lot of other companies that they might say they have X, Y, and Z ingredient, but you don't know how much of the dose you're actually getting. So we have effective, like clinically studied doses in our product. Um, so that was kind of my big focus. I'm like, I wanted that. And if we can still be profitable, then, that's kind of where we are. I mean, we probably could raise the price a little bit. I mean, if we weren't just on Amazon. But Amazon wise, I mean, we're not the highest, but we're not the lowest either. And we're kind of somewhere in the mid range there. Um,
Yeah,
so
and you mentioned Amazon. I want to get into that conversation and kind of talk a little bit about how you make the decision of where the outlet is, right? Because you have
yeah,
Shopify, you have your own. I mean, you could go direct. You could like do your own thing. Amazon's obviously an outlet, and I want to talk about kind of the thought process on going to Amazon, but then also how difficult it is because I have a little insight knowing, there's when you're dealing with Amazon, the big conglomerate, you're basically at their will. And there's a
yeah,
lot of setbacks and stuff that can happen along the way. So we're gonna, we don't need to get into the exact detail of the ingredients, right? Ultimately, you found a manufacturer, you picked high quality ingredients. There was an amount that was going to cost you, and you figured out, okay, that's how much I can sell this for on the back end. Now, how do you figure out which outlet you're going to sell this? Like your direct to
yeah,
consumer model. Walk us through that. Like, what are the
yeah,
options available to people, and how did you choose?
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of option. I mean, I initially like when I was first said, hey, I'm going to do this, I was initially under the idea that I'm going to just sell on like Shopify. Um, and part of like the benefits of that, I mean, you kind of control a lot more of the data. You get people's email, you get their contact. I mean, there's a lot of remarketing you can do. And we do have a Shopify website and all that, but I don't really, it's just more for branding, really. We're not really trying to sell in there. But there's Shopify, there's Amazon, TikTok Shop is like one. You can sell on Etsy. I mean, there's a lot of like outlets, I guess. For me, what did it? I mean, I hired like a coach and a mentor that actually built the company and grew it, sold it for 30 plus million. So the nice thing about Amazon is it already has customers that are there looking for products. So like that kind of it helps the marketing there. If you can your first 90 days, if you can trigger that Amazon like flywheel, so to say,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon will start pushing your product. I mean, there's certain things you can do to really help boost that. And if you get it right those first 90 days, I mean, it starts pushing and promoting your product. And that's kind of the goal. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna stick with Amazon, focus with that for right now. And then we're also going to do like try to drive and get off Amazon traffic because Amazon also really loves off Amazon traffic. So
They're
if they're
come
getting,
to Amazon,
yeah. So
right?
if you have like a link in your Instagram bio or Facebook or TikTok or all that, I mean, they actually like love promoting that off Amazon traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll push a lot of that more because they're getting people off other social media platforms or off other websites or emails onto Amazon's. So they really like people coming off of Amazon onto basically their platform because they know if they can keep them on their platform, they're going to spend money, whether it's your product or other products. So they really prioritize and push that. So if you can drive traffic from other areas, that really helps your brand and your product as well. So that's kind of why we are leaning toward that. I'm gonna start on Amazon. We're gonna drive traffic from other areas as well. And I mean, we'll start running ads and other platforms too, but it's all gonna go back to Amazon ultimately, and they fulfill it. They take care of everything. Like being busy, I mean, I don't want to have to deal with all that, you know. I mean,
Right.
some
Yeah.
people
The
start
last thing
with
you want to
shipping
do
and
is
packing themselves. So Amazon does it. I mean, you pay a fee, but I mean, it's well worth it to have them do that. And yeah, if you hit it right, it can be really good.
so after that 90 days, what you're saying, are you saying that instead of you pumping advertising to your product, Amazon basically realizes, oh, people are buying this product and they'll almost start to self promote?
They do a little bit, yeah. I mean, you still obviously gotta do your stuff, but I mean, um, they call the first 90 days your honeymoon period. So that's when, like, I mean, if you launch a product, you're not getting consistent sales, you're not getting reviews. Amazon kind of recognizes that and says, hey, it's maybe not really a good product. People don't want that. But if you're getting consistent sales, reviews, you know, getting traffic from other resources, I mean, Amazon kind of recognizes that and might prioritize yours a little bit higher, and they'll start showing up in different things and push that. And especially for new people, I mean, they want to get more people on their platform selling. So like if a new person comes in and there's kind of, you know, inching up and hitting all these metrics, I guess, which nobody fully knows what they are, but like if
Yeah.
you're showing consistent growth, they're gonna kind of favor you and push you. They want you to do well because it's more money for them, you
Right.
know?
One of the
So
things that you kind of glossed over that I want to dive into is you said you hired a coach from somebody who's, historically a DIYer, like you said. How did you come to that decision of a coach? And like, what are some things that a coach, I've obviously heard, I've hired business coaches, I've hired real estate coaches to help me continue in the business, but like, what does a product launch coach do? So how did you decide to
yeah.
hire a coach? And where did you find these coaches? So it's a three-parter. And then what does that coach do?
Yep. So we have, I mean, he has a course and all that too, but he also has like a Discord group, and we have, it's basically a big community. So there's a lot of Q&A. We do like a weekly like Zoom like we're doing now, and we'll cover different topics. There's a lot of stuff in there. I mean, the initial like course is like a general overview. And then in like the weekly calls and all that we have, we deep dive into more of the nuts and bolts. We can submit questions. I mean, it's live Q&A a lot of the times. We'll cover a topic and it's Q&A after there. We had people in the group that, you know, might have a little bit more experience too. They'll help answer questions and all that. And really, I mean, that was the goal. Like I knew I could figure a lot of it out myself, but I wanted to learn and cut that learning on half, basically. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's a pricey mastermind I was in, and yeah, I mean, I feel like it really like gave me that edge, and you learn a lot of other things that maybe you're not going to find on YouTube or any of that. So different things with like the algorithm and um, even like branding, and so it's even though it's like a um, it's more so an e-com Amazon launching type of business. We cover like branding and different tactics, things that are working now, and all that. So I mean, we're constantly learning with up-to-date info versus, you know, I'm trying to have to find that info and try to figure it out when somebody here is already doing that. They're building another brand. We have other people in our group building brands, so we can learn off of each other too. So
Yeah.
just part of that community like we are here, you know, we're learning and growing from each other, and maybe somebody has an idea that could help out, you know, and they did something that works better, you know. I mean, even the coach can learn, you know. So um yeah.
One of the things that, I'm a big proponent of brand. I think it's a big deal. The guys in our community, all business owners at some capacity, usually multipreneurs like yourself in a couple different things. When you're launching a product, and then maybe also thinking about your coach, my original thought is like, it's not going to work unless you have a big brand. Is there truth to that? Is that false? I mean, he sold a company for $30 million. I'm assuming he has
Yeah.
2 million followers online, right?
He basically started from nothing. I mean, he had 5 grand is like how he started, you know, and it's a lot of hustle and a lot of grinding in the beginning. And I mean, it's a lot of that. I mean, um, yeah, I mean, and we can take, like what he learned and like cut our learning curve on half.
Right.
I mean, we have people in our group doing like 200 grand a month, like in their business. So I
Whoa.
mean, it's big. I mean, he's building a brand now that's doing like over 400 grand a month. I
Hmm.
mean, it's not all profit, but I mean, that's what the revenue is like monthly. And um, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely doable and it's cool to be able to see that and learn and everything. I mean, you can start from nothing or little amount of followers to, really growing. I mean, it's almost better sometimes if you have little low amount of followers or not as many, not like a big mega brand, because you're going to get more engagement. Typically, there's more people that know you and relate to you. And I almost think it's maybe a little bit better to your advantage if you're not a huge account,
Yeah.
for that reason. You'll get more loyal customers and followers and people that you can count on.
Yeah, and you probably, in a sense, in the beginning, you get an opportunity to, like, I would call it hand-to-hand combat, where you
Mhm.
get out there and having the conversations with the people. And, I mean, some people have 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 followers, and you look at
Mhm.
their engagement on their posts, and it's very minimal, where a person
Yep.
with a quarter or an eighth of the same followers get the same engagement, right?
Mhm.
So, um, yes, I mean, basically what you're saying is you're probably going to be a $30 million brand pretty soon since you signed up for this. So, I mean, I think
My
that's
goal is
exact.
to, yeah, be past that eventually. So we'll add other products and other flavors to this. So I mean, we'll start with other flavors and then other products we're gonna add and all
Was
that.
the
So
brand that your coach was his supplement brand as well, or was it completely
it
different?
was a supplement brand, yeah.
Okay,
So that's kind of
gotcha.
why I wanted to hire somebody that did this, what I was doing.
Right. How important it is. So coming off the branding, creating an audience is basically what branding does,
Mm.
right? It creates an
Yep.
audience. And that's something that you did is we started this group, got people's interest, engagement. Um, this launch was coming. So walk us through that process as we start to kind of wind down, because we're going to get to the point where it's like, okay, product is launched and now,
Yep.
but the importance of before the product hits the shelves. Talk us through kind of that, creating that audience and what your thought process
Yep.
was there before it got to Amazon.
Yeah, so I mean, we created a Facebook launch group. We try to post content in there, get people engaged, fun little competition, things like that, get other people to invite people in there. And it's good. And part of it, and like it was hard because there was a lot of time that we were like held up on things that were like out of our control. So it's like, what
Right.
do we do? It's like, I know people are waiting for it, but like we're hung up and like we're waiting on stuff for Amazon and like brand registry, and I can't do anything with that until I get like part of it. There's a big hiccup when we were applying for our trademarks, applying for brand registry for Amazon. With Amazon, like you can print a barcode on your product. You can print a UPC code and then there's an Amazon barcode. Well, if you just put the UPC barcode and not Amazon's barcode, so on ours, it's Amazon's barcode. So we are held up for like a month on that. Like if we don't print that on there, Amazon is going to charge you like 20, 30 cents just to put their sticker on there.
Mm.
So I wanted to print it on there, just another way to cut costs because we do have a higher quality product, and 20, 30 cents every one. I mean, that could be a lot.
Yeah, you
Um,
sell 1,000 units. That's a lot of money.
yeah. So
10,000.
there's a couple points where I mean it was hard to like come up with ideas and content and like we want to keep everybody updated, but I mean there'd be like a month or two stretch where like we're at hold because there's nothing we could do. And you know you like you said earlier, like you're kind of at the mercy of Amazon in the beginning, but now we have all like the back end and groundwork done. So like launching a new product, launching other products, other flavors. I mean, we should be able to do that in 2 to 3 months versus like it took about a little over a year to launch this one.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, we had the launch group, and then kind of going back to like what we talked about with Amazon. I mean, we don't want to like say, hey, everybody, like here's our group, go order at once. I mean, you get 50 sales one day, and then you get none the rest. I mean, that doesn't look good for Amazon. So we tried to space that out for people and just try to get anywhere from 5 to 10 orders a day is kind of like what we were initially going for. And we've been pretty much there between 5 and 13 orders a day is like where we've been going. And that way it shows, hey, we're getting consistent orders. People are consistently buying. So that kind of helps Amazon as well. And we're starting some email marketing and all that. So we'll do some emailing, do another type of little giveaways and incentives for people that kind of get them going as well. So, yeah.
How do you capitalize on, again, like reorders, right? It's a consumable product, which is great. You want something that's
Yep.
consumable. But if they're going to Amazon, how do you get, you're not going to really be able to get their information directly. Are there ways that somebody can market directly to somebody who's been on your Amazon page? And then my second question I'll have is about kind of profit margins from Amazon.
Yeah, so that's the hard part with Amazon. So I mean, and a lot of it's like personal branding. So trying to get there. I mean, we have like the little lid stickers on the top too to try to engage with people and get, I don't know, stuff to help get more followers and more traffic to us, and I guess get them to outside sources. We got about like 400 some people on our email list. So I have that. We have about 300 some in our launch group. So we have a lot of people there. And it's just trying to build that community that way. That's the tricky part with Amazon. So I mean, if you can start doing that and build an email list, off products and ways you can, like the lid stickers there, you can get not necessarily contact info, but you can kind of get somewhat of contact info into like other third party like sites and all that. So we're trying to do things like that to get contact info, and then we can basically market to them when we launch new products, new flavors. Use our launch group for that. We have other things we want to kind of plan on working on where we can get more, just more engagement and more like people added to the group and all. So it's a challenge, but we're working toward that.
So if somebody, obviously you go to Amazon for a reason, because you don't want 150 boxes in your garage and then you going out every day and repackaging, going to the post office, sending them out, right? I mean, you could maybe have your 3 kids go out and do that. And then once they get a driver's license, they could just be your concierge for
Right.
Switch. But what's the payoff for that? Like if you sell something for $100 on Amazon, you're not going to get that $100. You're paying for it, obviously. Can you walk us through just like a general breakdown of how Amazon works on the back end?
Yep. So it depends on your product. So whether you're doing a supplement or something else, like your Amazon fees are going to be different. So there's like a storage fee, like how much space they're taking up in their warehouse. They have like a pick and pack fee, all that. At the end of the day, like most brands, you're looking at like anywhere from 20 to 30% profit after everything's said and done, is where you should be. In the beginning, it's probably going to be a little bit less because you're trying to really push up marketing. You might be doing more PPC, you might be doing some giveaways to really get that product out there. So, I mean, we're just kind of trying to break even in the beginning. And then that way it covers Amazon fees. It covers like any of your marketing you're doing. But it's really trying to boost that algorithm for Amazon and show, hey, like we are a brand. We're actually doing good stuff. People are buying, they're reordering, they're liking the product, all that. So yeah.
Right. Give up a little bit on the front end to gain it in 10x on the back end, right? So that 20 to 30%, is that before you take out product costs then? Or is that like
That'd
you're
be
just
like
saying all
after
included?
everything. So that'd be like your product cost, your Amazon fees, I mean, your marketing. That's like a good healthy product typically is in that 20 to 30% range. Should be about 25 to 30%. It should be. But your first maybe couple of months, it might be on the lower end. You might be breaking even, might cost you a little. So that's kind of a goal. If you can trigger that flywheel, Amazon is going to start promoting you a little bit more and ranking you. And as people are searching, that kind of helps rank you as well. So
yeah, which is totally fine. I mean, somebody listening should absolutely be all about breaking even to increase sales, because you're doing it for, it's like just like anything else. You'll sell a job. Maybe if you're a service-based provider, you do a couple jobs at cost because you know that it gives you another thing is testimonials, and it gives you It gives you more content for future opportunities. So it's worth it to break even just
Yep.
so that you can accelerate more sales down the road, right? And you're getting this
Yep.
into people's hands, whether it's this product or another product, you're getting it into somebody's hands so that they can experience it. And when you put the time in on the front end, like you did, to make it a quality, good tasting product, you know they're going to like it. So they're going to order more. So it's just worth it. It's the cost of acquisition. And you're actually taking your cost per customer, and it's essentially, like, it's not costing you anything. You're breaking even on it, right?
Yep.
So you're building it into the cost of the product at that point.
Yep. Exactly.
Anything else that we didn't touch on while we're winding down here? I know you had a special code for the group that we already had sent, so that it gives everybody $15 off of the core body switch. I'll tell you, strawberry lemonade is the flavor. Historically, I hate that flavor. Like, I hate it. But you figured out how to make it taste really darn good. I don't know how you did it, but
Yep.
I actually really enjoy it. So, is there anything else that we didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to touch on that you wanted to make sure? I'll
Hmm.
just kind of leave you with any final words on
Yep.
the product launch.
Well, yeah, just kind of going on that. I did send you a link on there. It's kind of hard to give discounts and all that like through Amazon. So anybody that does order, I did set up a special link for you guys that Mike can get you, but just shoot me a message on Instagram there, and I can Venmo you back $15. That way after you purchase and all that. So just a thank you for you guys for supporting us and all that. But yeah, I mean, I think really, I mean, if you're looking to grow a product, the business, I mean, just kind of reverse engineer what you're looking to do, whether that is finding a mentor that did what you want to do. Um, and just don't overcomplicate. If you reverse engineer it and just work it back simple steps, it becomes a lot easier than looking at the whole big picture. I mean, it's looking at a brand and you see a lot of them out there. I mean, you're like, wow, these are multi-million dollar brands. It's like, how do you ever get there? Well, everybody started with one product or, you know, something very small, and then
Yeah.
they grew it to something big. So if you start reverse engineering it, it makes it a lot easier to grow it and to picture and actually make it seem possible for you to do. So I think that just key, just taking a little bite-sized pieces and work it back that way. And I mean, if anybody has any questions with that, I mean, whether it's ecom, real estate, they can always reach out to me too, and I'll see whatever I can do to help you guys out as well. So,
Which Instagram is your best one to reach out to for this, specifically core body fitness?
they can do the Corey pads. I have it on my personal one. Um, I'm more engaged on that one. I get on that one, which is smaller and all that. So that one, I mean, yeah, feel free to share that one with everybody. I mean, it is also on the lid cover too. They can scan that barcode
Scan the
as
scan
well.
the QR code and you'll be ready to rock.
So
Awesome, man.
yeah,
Well, we'll put all this in the group, in the show notes, and I appreciate you sharing kind of the peel back the curtain. Again, when I talked from the beginning about launching a successful product, I don't necessarily mean Corey launched this product and he's selling it for 30 million by the end of the week. To me, what success looks like is actually following through with the launch. And what he said is really important in the beginning is reverse engineering. He just mentioned it. I'm reading a book called Psycho Cybernetics right now, and it's talking about visualization. It's talking you cannot find success in anything unless you have a clear picture in your mind of the target you're going after, right? So I'd have to assume, I'm holding up the can of Switch right now, Corey, this was your target, and you
yeah,
found this as your target and visualized and reverse engineered that. So thanks for telling us all about launching a product. Thanks for creating a really awesome product. Selfishly, for me, I enjoy it much like you did or do. So thanks so much for being here, man, and sharing with the $1 Million Dads community.